Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear brothers and sisters, I hope you're well. Subhanallah, subhanallah, subhanallah. How can I thank Allah enough for the amazing blessings that He has given us, for the amazing opportunities that He has made for us available, opportunities by which we develop ourselves, grow every day, we become better every day. Alhamdulillah, I hope and I pray that you're doing well. In the month of Ramadan, you're developing, you're growing, you're embracing the barakah, the days of maghfirah. Brother Habib Rahman says, Salamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Thank you, brother, for coming and joining us. Wherever you are, brothers and sisters, welcome to our Abdullah Quilliam Masjid's amazing show. We're doing Ramadan digital program for Abdullah Quilliam Masjid, and it is a good opportunity to connect with other people. So join us, talk to us about your medical challenges if you have one, spiritual challenges that if you are facing. Yesterday we talked about road rage. Somebody was talking about road rage and depression. What's yours today? Shahid Latif says evening and Bismillah. Yes, indeed. Salaam alaikum. Bismillah. We have started already. Welcome. What struggles are you going through? What are your struggles? Love to know. Inshallah. Well, let's invite Sheikh Waddah, who is waiting to talk to us, recite the Quran, and inshallah, we're only delighted to hear him. Inshallah. Sheikh, Salaam alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Sheikh Ajmal, how are you? Okay?
Alive and kicking, alhamdulillah. Ramadan is going fast, as we always say. It is your chance today to recite Surah Namal, I think.
Inshallah, inshallah.
All yours. Bismillah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. طاسين. تلك آيات القرآن وكتاب مبين هدى وبشرى للمؤمنين الذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم بالآخرة هم يوقنون إن الذين لا يؤمنون بالآخرة زينا لهم أعمالهم فهم يعمهون أولئك الذين لهم سوء العذاب وهم في الآخرة هم الأخسرون وإنك لتلقى القرآن من لدن حكيم عليم إذ قال موسى لأهله إني آنست نارا سآتيكم منها بخبر أو آتيكم بشهاب قبس لعلكم تصطلون فلما جاءها نودي أن بورك من في النار ومن حولها وسبحان الله رب العالمين يا موسى إنه أنا الله العزيز الحكيم وألق عصاك فلما رآها تهتز كأنها جان ولا مدبرا ولم يعقب يا موسى لا تخف إني لا يخاف لدي المرسلون إلا من ظلم ثم بدل حسنا بعد سوء فإني غفور رحيم إلا من ظلم ثم بدل حسنا بعد سوء فإني غفور رحيم وأدخل يدك في جيبك تخرج بيضاء من غير سوء في 9 آيات إلى فرعون وقومه إنهم كانوا قوما فاسقين. فلما جاءتهم آياتنا مبصرة قالوا هذا سحر مبين وجحدوا بها واستيقنتها أنفسهم ظلما وعلوا فانظر كيف كان عاقبة المفسدين. ولقد آتينا داود وسليمان علما وقال الحمد لله الذي فضلنا على كثير من عباده المؤمنين. وورث سليمان داود وقال يا أيها الناس علمنا منطق الطير وقال يا أيها الناس علمنا منطق الطير وأوتينا من كل شيء إن هذا لهو الفضل المبين. وحشر لسليمان جنوده من الجن والإنس والطير فهم يوزعون حتى إذا أتوا على واد النمل قالت نملة يا أيها النمل ادخلوا مساكنكم لا يحطمنكم سليمان وجنوده وهم لا يشعرون. فتبسم ضاحكا من قولها وقال رب أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه وأدخلني برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. وتفقد الطير فقال ما لي لا أرى الهدهد أم كان من الغائبين لأعذبنه عذابا شديدا أو لأذبحنه أو ليأتيني بسلطان مبين. فمكث غير بعيد فقال أحطت بما لم تحط به وجئتك من سبأ بنبأ يقين إني وجدت امرأة تملكهم وأوتيت من كل شيء ولها عرش عظيم. إني وجدت امرأة تملكهم وأوتيت من كل شيء ولها عرش عظيم. وجدتها وقومها يسجدون للشمس من دون الله وزين لهم الشيطان أعمالهم فصدهم عن السبيل فهم لا يهتدون. ألا يسجدوا لله الذي يخرج الخبأ في السماوات والأرض ويعلم ما تخفون وما تعلنون الله لا إله إلا هو رب العرش العظيم. سبحان الله، الحمد لله، سبحان الله، سبحان الله. قال سننظر أصدقت أم كنت من الكاذبين اذهب بكتابي هذا فألقه إليهم ثم تول عنهم فانظر ماذا يرجعون. قالت يا أيها الملأ إني ألقي إلي كتاب كريم إنه من سليمان وإنه بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنه من سليمان وإنه بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألا تعلوا علي وأتوني مسلمين. صدق الله العظيم.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Very beautifully read. MashaAllah. 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 Allah iftah alayk. Allah give you more. Allah give you the rest of this world and the hereafter. We make dua for you.
آمين الجميع إن شاء الله. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and accept what we've done from Ramadan and Khawat Maria these last 10 days inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the most success inshallah.
Inshallah. Today is the 19th of Ramadan gone, right?
Subhanallah. Yeah, it'll be over soon, over there. A few hours left, subhanallah.
For the last 10 days to begin.
And then that's it. The last 10 days, the countdown starts, subhanallah.
Just imagine that, brothers and sisters. How did it all go? Another Ramadan had come and gone. Allahu Akbar.
SubhanAllah.
How old are you, Shaykh Waddah, now?
Sorry?
How old are you?
I'm 27. I've turned 27 this year.
And how many years have you been fasting?
SubhanAllah, I think we started since year 5, year 4. That's when we started getting pushed. But at that time, SubhanAllah, iftar was about 4 o'clock or about. So we used to come home from school to find the iftar already ready. So it was easier for us, I think.
Alhamdulillah. And how old were you?
Year 5, year 9 is about, I think you're about 9, 10, 11, like that. About 9.
So you would have fasted so far now, if you're 27. So what, 10, 15 years?
18 years, is it? 18, 19 years.
I've been thinking about it myself. I started from the age of 7. So I've been fasting for 42 years now.
SubhanAllah, but it's crazy when you count it in months, how many months you've been alive and how many months that you've given to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a way, a full month. It's nothing compared to the months that you live.
It's nothing.
SubhanAllah, it's nothing.
Very true. SubhanAllah. Thank you for that. And what are you going to have for iftar today?
Today, well, I still don't know. I could not tell you. I can smell nice food cooking, but I can smell a bit of the dal, I think, the lentils, I think. One of the essentials.
Oh, we have dal today too.
Yeah, it's one of the things with the Yemeni communities that we always have to have the sambusa, the samosas, the shorba, which is the dal that we have, but we have different styles. And one day you'll have lentils, sometimes you'll have different beans that you use within your different variety.
It's
but
good
that
for
would
you
be the main essential.
It stays in your stomach for longer.
Yeah, it does. It holds, and you've got your protein through that, so you wouldn't need your meats. I think that's the thing with it.
Allah bless you. Thank you. I will inshallah talk to you again. Take care.
Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shaykh Waddah, that is fantastic indeed. Allah bless him. Allah give him hayatun tayyiba. Brothers and sisters, Surah Naml. Okay. I want to read the translation, and I'm going to read the translation from my phone today. Tasin. There are pages of the Quran, a divine writ clear in itself and clearly showing the truth. A guidance and a glad tiding to the believers. who are constant in prayer and spend in their charity, for it is they who in their innermost are certain of life to come. As for those who will not believe in the life to come, behold, goodly have we made their own doing appear unto them, and so they stumble blindly to and fro. It is they whom the worst of suffering awaits, for it is they who in the life to come shall be the greatest losers. But as for thee, O believer, verily you have received this Quran out of the grace of one who is wise and all-knowing. Lo, while lost in the desert, Moses said to his family, behold, I perceive a fire far away. I may bring you from there some tiding as to which there are to pursue, or bring you at least a burning brand so that you might warm yourself. But when he came close to it, a call was sounded. Blessed are all who are within reach of this fire, and all who are near it. And limitless is his glory, the glory of God, the sustainer of the worlds. O Moses, verily I alone am God, the Almighty, the Wise. And then he said, now throw down thy stuff. But when he saw it more rapidly as if it were a serpent, he drew back in terror and did not dare to return. And God spoke to him again, O Moses, fear not, for behold, no fear need the message bearer have in my presence. And neither need anyone who has done wrong and has placed the wrong with good, for verily I am much forgiving, a dispenser of grace. Now place thy hand into the bosom. It will come forth shining white without blemish. And you shall go with 9 of my messages unto Pharaoh and his people, for verily they are people depraved. But when our light-giving messages came unto them, they said, this is clearly but a spellbinding deception. And in their wickedness and self-exaltation, they rejected them, although their minds were convinced of the truth. And behold what happened in the end to those spreaders of corruption. And indeed, we granted true knowledge unto David and Solomon, as well as, and both were wont to say, all praises to God who has thus favored us above many of his believing servants. And in the insight, Solomon was truly David's heir. And he would say, O you people, we have been taught the speech of birds, and have been given in abundance of all good things. This, behold, is indeed a manifest favor from God. And one day there were assembled before Solomon his hosts of invisible beings, and of man and of birds, and then they were led forthly in orderly ranks, till when they came upon a valley full of ants, and ants exclaimed, O you ants, get into your dwellings, lest Solomon and his hosts crush you without even being aware that you exist. Thereupon Solomon smiled joyously at her words and said, O my sustainer, inspire me so that I may forever be grateful for those blessings of thine with which thou hast graced me and my parents, and that I may do what is right in a manner that will please you, and include me by your grace amongst your righteous servants. And one day he looked in vain for the bird, and so he said, how is it that I do not see the hoopie? Or could he be amongst the absent? If so, I'll punish him most certainly and severely, or will kill him unless he brings me a convincing excuse. But the Hoopi tarried but a short while, and when it came, it said, I have encompassed with my knowledge something that you have never yet encompassed, for I have come to you from Sheba with tidings sure. Behold, I found there a woman ruling over them, and he has been given abundance of all good things, and hers is a mighty throne. I found her and her people adoring the sun instead of God, and Shaitan has made these doing of theirs seem goodly to them, and thus has barred them from the path of God, so they cannot find the way. For they have come to believe that they ought not to adore God, although it is He who brings forth all that is hidden in the heavens and the earth, and knows all that you would conceal, as well as all that you bring into the open. God, save whom there is no deity and sustainer, in awesome almightiness enthroned. I'll stop here. Let's invite Assalamu alaikum, Ron.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Ramadan Kareem. 2 days ago, I spoke to you about Quilliam's extraordinary talents as a human being and how he utilized all of these in the service of Islam. So long, in fact, were his list of talents that I overrun by 6 minutes, and I hope not to do that tonight. I want to talk tonight about Quilliam's activities, or one particular activity. We'll do more over the next couple of weeks, as the Imam of his community in Liverpool. Although we know that Quilliam did not lead prayers, in fact, he would always appoint a mosque imam, usually someone from India, and 2 very famous imams served for a while at the mosque. Rafiuddin was one, and also Barakatullah, another very famous Indian imam, was there with Quilliam for quite a long time. But in all other respects, he was the imam of his community. And the community did not just consist of converts, although we have seen that the number of converts increased every year, and certainly by the back end of the 1890s, Quilliam was well over 100 and approaching 200, and at its peak, the community boasted around about 250 converts. But another major group that Quilliam would champion would be Muslim seamen, known as Lascars. These seamen were beginning to arrive in Liverpool in larger and larger numbers, especially after the technological shift from sailing ships to steamships. Thousands fueled the merchant navy fleet of Britain from below decks. It was believed that because they came from hot climates, they were able to deal with the extreme temperatures below decks in the steamship's engines, particularly as stokers put in the coal into the fires. Life was not easy for these men, and even 20 years prior to Quilliam beginning his work, we know that there were 30 graves of Turkish seamen up in Fazakerley Cemetery in Liverpool. The journey, or the contract, was one way. And when you arrived in the UK, you were immediately in a position where not only did you have to seek accommodation and food, but you had to find a ship that would take you back home. Quilliam even tells a story of one boy who was only about 16 or 17 years old, whose ship had arrived in Cardiff and who had walked from Cardiff to Liverpool in order to find a ship back home to India. He was starving, sick, and Quilliam took him and sheltered him, visited him in hospital. We know that Quilliam, at one of the AGMs, had spoken about the plight of these men, saying that 60 of them were having to be accommodated inside the mosque's facilities, and a further 25 at the orphanage. They would have to be fed and would be of a considerable expense to the community in Liverpool. Quilliam would eventually raise the money to build a lodging house in the mosque building for these men to stay. Perhaps his first contact with these seamen working below the decks, labouring away, came about in 1893, when Quilliam would travel to Morocco on board SS Arcadia. After the ship left the Mersey and got out into the open sea, the pilot of the ship would take a message from Quilliam to his community at the mosque. The message was interesting. Quilliam recounts a story that he was the only Muslim passenger, first class, of course, being a British gentleman. And he began to become lonely for Muslim company, especially as Maghrib was approaching and he wanted to pray. He must have known that below decks there were sailors who might be Muslim, for that's where he wended his way, going deep down into the bowels of the ship, and he wore his fez with his Edwardian clothes, so whoever he might find would recognize that he was a fellow Muslim. He recounts 40 such Muslims working as stokers and labourers down in the ship's bowels. They were absolutely overjoyed to see a white Muslim, and they asked him if he would lead them in prayer. Quilliam agreed and led the Muslim sailors into Maghreb. They called him Abdullah Saab, and he led the prayer for them every day, all the way to when the ship docked in Gibraltar. Whether or not this was his first experience of Muslim seamen, there's no doubt about it that Quilliam would become their champion, not only accommodating them and feeding them, but also becoming free of charge their legal advocate, conducting funerals, and maybe even marriages. We certainly know about funerals. The death rate amongst these sailors was high. Starvation, tuberculosis, and other infectious diseases. Whenever they were in hospital, the local council right across the northwest of England, not just in Liverpool, would contact Quilliam and ask him to come. There he would counsel them. Two things he would do to relieve their anxiety. He tells us that many of these men were extremely anxious that if they died in the hospital, they would not be able to have a Muslim funeral. Other than that, they were incredibly concerned that their back pay would not be paid to their relatives back in Yemen or Somalia or India. Quilliam would assure them on both accounts. He would explain to them that he was an imam of a mosque in Liverpool, and that he had a small Muslim graveyard that he had purchased in the city. And there would be no doubt whatsoever that they would have a full Muslim funeral with all the appropriate rites. We know from accounts that all the Muslims of Liverpool, converts and others, would process through the streets with the coffin, taking it to the graveyard, with Quilliam leading the prayers, dressed as their Imam in his Ottoman robes. But also, Quilliam would find out what company they worked for, how much back pay they were owed, and what was their address in their place, that in their villages where they had come from. If they died, he would turn up at the shipping agents, demanding the back pay on their behalf. And most people in Liverpool knew very well his reputation as an advocate, and certainly did not want to be seen in court. We know of famous cases that Quilliam defended. One sailor who was so badly burnt from an accident below decks with a faulty steam pump and died. Quilliam took the company to court and won damages, which were sent back to his family. If by any chance he could not find the address of their wives or parents to send the money to, Quilliam would go to such lengths to trace the families, even taking out adverts in newspapers in India and Yemen to track them down. I find it extraordinary that Quilliam went to such lengths to look after this community that were far from home, hungry, shelterless, and must have been so lost, especially if ill or dying in a British hospital. It gives us some idea of some of the responsibilities that Quilliam would take on as Imam, serving his community selflessly, working hard on their behalf, bringing all of his financial resources, intellectual resources, and also his legal resources to help this community that in a way were the very bottom of the British Empire's pecking order of class. When I speak to you next, I will describe to you a little bit a funeral service that was undertaken in Liverpool, so you can get some kind of idea of how Quilliam conducted these funerals. And I will also speak of the 23 marriages which he conducted in the mosque in Liverpool. Thank you very much for listening. Good night. Wa alaikum salam.
Allah, it is very intriguing. This one man did so much. Unbelievable. Can you imagine that? Leading prayers for the sailors, leading prayers for getting marriages and funerals. Wow. Allahu Akbar. What else can I say about such an inspiring story of an inspiring man? Anyway, let's invite Henrietta to our show, if she's still around and still awake, and she's able to cope with our demanding schedule on a daily basis. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you?
More like crawling to the camera today.
Oh, are you that tired? Your mango and milk and rice didn't work yesterday?
No, I didn't have mango and rice this morning because we ran out of rice last night, and we actually ran out of mango. So we need to get some from the shops for tomorrow. But
that's why you're struggling. I see.
Probably.
I get
well,
it.
I'm not sure. But,
you should send somebody to go and get you mango tonight.
Yeah, I will probably send you. And yeah, no, today was really tiring, but also because I was very busy. The morning was fine. I had a few very interesting things I was doing this morning until about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I just went down in terms of energy because I was quite hyped up throughout all those activities I was doing. So
last 10 days on us, tomorrow is the 20th, and then it's a downhill sprint to the end.
Well, for me, it's an uphill struggle.
No, uphill is over.
Whichever way you look at it, it's the last 10 days. For up or down, for me, it's going to be uphill struggle, I think.
No, it's going to be easy. You've done 20 already. Amazing. What an amazing achievement, mashallah.
Mhm.
Anyway, I'm
Let's
quite
talk about
happy to
food.
get you mango if you want.
Let's talk about food.
Oh, you want to talk about food?
Yeah, let's talk about food. At least that takes my mind into a direction which I can. It's a more
Tell
palatable
me.
direction.
Tell me more about your food. What did you cook today?
So we have a lot of leftovers from yesterday, but I am turning those leftovers into different things. So we will have I don't know the name of this, but it's the bread with some dal inside. So I think it's dal puri, right? That's what it's called. So I made a bit of dal with that. So that's the only thing I cooked today because I made some dry dal with some spinach, which would be very good source of protein, and it's warm and it's nice and it's lovely with some bread. So the bread is going to be oven
And
warmed,
iron, which we
full of
need.
iron.
Yes.
And it's quite easy on the stomach, hopefully, if we don't eat too much. I had a bit of couscous left over from my tagine, and I turned it into a salad. So there is some coriander, some mint, some radishes, carrots, tomatoes, and a nice, lovely chili dressing on it with some feta cheese. So that's a salad.
I was getting
Um,
excited until you told me about the feta cheese, but now I've
Oh, you can. It's not much. It's hardly anything, but for the saltiness, you need a bit of feta cheese. And then we also have chickpeas, Bengali chickpeas. As those of you who know us, it's always a struggle in our house to follow one particular cuisine. So we always have a lot of different things. So couscous from my Tunisian dish left over, and the dal puree is from, I think it's from Guyana, is it?
Chinese.
Yes, Guyanese. And then the dal and the sana is the Bengali dish that we have. We have also always have pastries. So we have date pastry. We have some Greek pastry from the neighbors still, which we need to finish. And then, of course, we will have our fruit salad and our mint tea. And what else? And I think we will have chocolate with the kids because that's something we have been having for the last couple of days. So
You have them, not me. I've never had any.
we are having chocolate. Yesterday we had trifle for iftar, but today we don't have trifle because we finished it. So, oh, I still have a bit of banana bread, which we can have with cream. It's really nice when you warm it up and then put some cream on it. Or I don't have any ice cream at the moment, so that's our iftar today. What else do we have in the fridge? Oh, we still have fried fish and the Duffenhouse potatoes from last night.
I don't understand. I don't know why you cook dal. You've got too much already at home.
I know, but I can freeze a dal and I can use it another day when I don't have energy to get out of bed, which is coming very soon. So I'm just preparing for the last hurdles.
Also says to me he will have Ajmal's chocolate.
Who said?
Somebody who's watching our program. He says, "I'll have Ajmal's chocolate."
More than welcome. Ajmal doesn't eat any sugar in Ramadan, so this Ramadan anyway. So you can have the chocolate.
Even in before previous Ramadans, I try and stay away from sugar for the entire month, and I feel so good.
Okay, good for you.
Absolutely uplift my spirit and body. Alhamdulillah. I've got to admit, I'm struggling today. I'm feeling exhausted. I'm feeling very tired. I'm feeling the energy sapping very fast today. I haven't felt like this in Ramadan this year so far. So today has been quite a tough one. But alhamdulillah, I've gone to my TV program earlier on. I've gone to my mum's house to give her some seeds for plants. I've been here. I've done my Quran program online. I'm doing this one. Then I've got iftar. Then I've got program in the evening at 10 o'clock, 10:30. So I have a program galore. I'm still okay.
Good.
I do need my ginger drink for this evening. So inshallah, I hope I get some. Let's go to your food for your brain. Food for the stomach is good, but food for the brain.
Food for the brain. So those of you who are following, I started talking about, I'm reading the Book of Knowledge of Imam al-Ghazali, and we talked a little bit about spiritual knowledge and practical knowledge yesterday. But we went a little bit more detailed into leading our lives from our soul. And I left you with 3 questions yesterday. What would you keep doing if you knew that you wanted to lead from your soul instead of your mind? What would you stop doing and what would you replace? And I hope you found some informative answers to these questions. Today I wanted to talk about something that was very interesting to read. So the whole idea of this book is a quite a substantial book, and it has a children's version of it as well. So if anyone is interested, it's a really lovely way to do it together with the kids, whatever age your children are, because it comes with the adult book and then the children's book. But and this one is particularly called the Book of Knowledge, and amazingly, the virtue of knowledge has been detailed, and that goes on for 28 pages. And it's actually a list of the prophetic reports about the sincerity of knowledge seeking, the importance of knowledge, what was the tradition of the companions and others, what are the virtues of learning, what are the verses from the Quran describing it, and again talking about what was the prophetic tradition of the virtues of teaching, virtues of learning. I mean, it was mind-blowing to read through it. So it's a very long description, and of course the importance of seeking knowledge comes from the very first word that was sent down to us, which is read. And I always took Ramadan as a way to enhance and expand my spiritual learning. So I usually pick up spiritual books that I read of different nature. And yesterday, something very interesting that I listened to highlighted a really important piece for me about knowledge seeking, is that the very first word when you start reading the Quran is Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So it starts with the name of Allah. And the last word of the Quran is people. Mina Jinnati wan Nas. And in between the two, the word of Allah, the name of Allah and people, there is this entire journey that we all have to take. It's life, it's seeking knowledge. So it's a comprehensive path that every single human being takes. So the Book of Knowledge is highlighting the importance of it, of the knowledge seeking part of it. But there's one particular area which is even more prominent, which says it's in Surah 35, ayah 28. It says, "Those who fear God are those who have knowledge." And this is quite interesting, because I remember when I converted and I was having conversations with my family, with my friends, they always said that, you're so intelligent, why do you believe? What is it that you believe in? I mean, intelligence and faith doesn't go together. But I think actually it's the opposite. It's true intelligence comes from opening our mind to possibilities that we cannot understand. And faith is one of those things that we cannot understand 100%. Faith is not something that is tangible. It's a different kind of approach. It's a different kind of knowledge. And I think that's what it's meant by those who fear God are those who have knowledge, because those who have some sort of openness of their mind, then they are ready and willing to go to places where unknown things are coming. And God is one of those unknown things that we have to experience ourselves, and we have to be very personal about this. And then there's a very beautiful story in here where, let me just find it. Ali ibn Abi Talib said to Kumail, "O Kumail, knowledge is superior to wealth. Knowledge protects you, whereas you must protect your wealth. Knowledge governs, while wealth is governed over. Wealth decreases with dispersal, while knowledge increases when distributed." I just love this quote because it is so much about priorities for us, and particularly in Ramadan, when we think about, pursuing wealth as opposed to knowledge. And there are a lot of young people out there who, when it comes to seeking knowledge or choosing a career, they would go for seeking a good career because it will give them security and stability. But less and less people choose knowledge over wealth. But it's so clear in this story that knowledge protects you whereas wealth needs to be protected over. So knowledge is, when I was growing up, my grandfather used to say this to me: study, because knowledge is something nobody can ever take away from you. They can take your wealth, they can take away your house, they can take away your clothes, but what you know about yourself, about the world, is nobody's business, and nobody can take it away from you. And with that knowledge, you can always make enough money to feed yourself. The second part of the story is knowledge governs, while wealth is governed over. It's about our direction. It's about how we live life. It's about, when we are knowledgeable, we can conduct certain aspects of our lives. We can decide because we have a deep knowledge of our priorities and ourselves. So we can decide for ourselves. Whereas wealth has to be governed over. And wealth decreases with dispersal, while knowledge increases when distributed. And this is really the essence for me of the whole idea of knowledge seeking, is that I can, work on my wealth and then have loads of money in my account. But as time goes, slowly, the account will go down and it will disperse because I'm spending, and there is nothing that is going to replace it. Whereas knowledge works the other way around. When we have knowledge and we distribute it to others, that knowledge is going to touch someone's life, and that person is going to make a life for himself or for herself, maybe becomes another teacher, and knowledge passes down from generation to generation. Wealth doesn't necessarily. And I think there are a lot of people nowadays who have experienced this in the COVID crisis. They had probably the most secure jobs. They used to work for banks or investment companies. Some of those sources of wealth have been stifled. So it's really important that we think about our priorities. What do I prioritize for my life? Do I want to increase my knowledge, or do I want to increase my wealth? Sometimes when we are lucky, the two go hand in hand. And I think it's another thing I have been thinking about is that knowledge should be rewarded more. Teachers should be rewarded more. Scholars, our own scholars, need to be looked after. People who spread knowledge, they must be given priority and due payment. Whereas, unfortunately, in our community, there is an expectation that if you're a knowledgeable person, you will just go and spread the knowledge. It is, people do it from the heart, of course, but if someone's livelihood is dependent on that knowledge, they must be remunerated accordingly. So I want to leave you with this, because I think it just, again, the entire book of reading Imam al-Ghazali is about putting you on the ground and just really making you stand in something that's so true and so transparent and so authentic. And knowledge is certainly one of them.
Thank you, Henrietta. That's very insightful, very absolutely to the point. I think knowledge is the only thing, in my view, that keeps you and your spirit and your mind and your brain going. When you grow older, the reason why people suffer dementia is when their brain starts fading. And the more you feed, so learned people who read and write often and more, and who continue the practice of that, have been associated with not getting into that state of dementia that quickly.
And the other thing I was thinking, that even in relationships, when you marry someone for beauty, that beauty goes away. But if you marry someone who's
not necessarily.
Not yours. I get it. Yours doesn't, mashallah. But beauty does fade away, over 50, 60. But knowledge is something that it's another glue for a relationship. And if you're not bored with your spouse, you might be disappointed with the looks. But if you're not bored with someone's intellectual capacity, or just just having those exchanges of information and learning something new and doing something different together, it is actually more beneficial for the relationship than having all the beauty at the beginning or having all the wealth, because both of them disappear.
Thank you very much. I'm going to let you go. Inshallah, see you later on. Jazakallah khair. Take care. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. That was Henrietta Savati, who gave us the insight of Imam al-Ghazali's book on Ihya Ulum ad-Din, Book of Knowledges, what she was reading from. Alhamdulillah. Well, let's now invite our doctor, the dentist. Let's see what the dentist has to say about these things. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
We're still having which is,
really?
Yeah, we're having an echo. Do you have an earphone?
I'll do that. I'll be back. I'll be back in a minute.
Okay, let's get an earphone. Ladies and gentlemen, he will be back inshallah in a couple of minutes. We have so we're talking about knowledge. What is your spiritual struggle, brothers and sisters? Where are you struggling when it comes to knowledge? Are you struggling with knowledge? How many of you have read a good book in the last 10 years? I'm sorry, I said 10 years. I deliberately said 10 years. How many of you have read a good book in the last 5 years, last 1 year, last 6 months? A book that you really, really felt that you could read it again and again, or even just an ordinary book. When was the last time you read a book from beginning to the end? The concept of knowledge can not be undermined, and the concept of knowledge is directly linked to reading. If you don't read, you cannot gain knowledge. Reading opens up a new world out there completely, a very new world. It's not your world, it's Allah's, but you discover it by knowledge, by reading, by really focusing on the essential message contained in that book. So, for example, I'm now, where is my book gone? I'm reading, if you look behind me, I'm surrounded by my library. This is not even 1/3 of the library that we have. But both my wife and I and our children, we relish on the opportunities that we get when we are reading. Reading is a culture, a habit that we must make. So today's question I would like to raise to you is, how many of you are struggling spiritually with knowledge? Is your spiritual struggle to do with knowledge? When you read the Quran, do you struggle to understand what you're reading? When you pick up the Quran, do you struggle to relate to it? Because actually, you know what? It doesn't make any sense to you. It's not a personal journey for you. A book, here is a book that I was given to read. It's called The 12 Rules of Life. I read it. I understand every bit of it. I can relate to it. I can put it away. I can read it again. There is another book called Road to Mecca, a brilliant masterpiece written by Muhammad Asad. I read, I understand. But I pick up the Quran all the time. I'm just turning around for my Quran, but I don't understand. I've got the Quran here. I read, but I don't understand. I'm scared of the Quran, actually. I'm scared of it. I think it's only for the Imams. I think it's only for the scholars. I think it's only for those people who are pure and clean. And yet, Quran is a guide for all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a guide for all of us. Are you struggling with your Quran? Are you struggling with your knowledge, spiritual journey? Let's see if Doctor has been able to. It's a muscle we need to exercise, and the more you gain, the more you seek it. Yes, it's the brain muscle, my dear sister. Absolutely right. Doctor, Salaam Alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Allahu Akbar. What did you do?
Is that better?
Yes, what did you do?
Just an earphone, brother. It is.
Alhamdulillah. You see, you've solved the problem. MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah, you solved it.
MashaAllah. Allahu Akbar. How was your fasting today?
Alhamdulillah, it's been okay actually.
Have you been enjoying the fast? It's already 20th coming up tonight.
Yes. SubhanAllah, the time runs very quickly.
Subhanallah. Subhanallah. Right. Somebody asked me a question earlier on about dental health, because I was told them that you're coming. And yesterday they saw us struggling, but alhamdulillah, they are patient. Yeah. So the question is, at iftar time, at suhoor time,
Yes.
food gets stuck inside in your teeth, and even if you brush them, they keep on coming up throughout the day.
Okay.
Or can you actually use a mouthwash to really cleanse your mouth before, or even during the fasting, because you're worried about what's going on in your mouth? Ultimately, the gum and the health of the gum is so important, and food stuck in the gum could be a problem.
Yes. Well, Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Of course, the oral hygiene is a paramount. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to be heard to bark while he was doing the siwak, while he was cleaning his teeth. That means he wouldn't just clean the front teeth, he would clean the back teeth. Sorry, he would also clean the back teeth, and the ones really towards the back of the mouth and the base of the tongue that would stimulate the gag reflex. So basically, that's how thorough we would need to clean our teeth. Obviously, in Ramadan, you know, the ulama, I think this is a fiqh question, but the ulama, they agree on if you swallow something intentionally, then that fast is gone. But if it's unintentional, sorry, then there's a permit here. This doesn't mean that we should avoid cleaning our teeth. We should actually persist on cleaning our teeth, I would say, at every wudu or every salah. So that's many more than 2 times a day.
I found cleaning your tongue, you know, as part of your oral hygiene. So clean your teeth properly, floss it, use a mouthwash, no problem, do all that. But brushing your tongue or cleaning your tongue is the essence of removing bad odor from your breath.
Actually, that's a very good tip. That's a very good tip. A lot of the bacteria, they stay on the tongue surface. The bacteria likes to stay on it's a funny way. Bacteria like to stick on the tooth surface, but also they can stick on the tongue surface, the top of the tongue. As for the cheeks and underneath the tongue, it's difficult, and the gums, mostly it's difficult for the bacteria to stick on that. But that's a good question, actually. That brings an important point here. When I see my patients, I see patients from Muslim and from other religions as well. What I've noticed is that that our community, if you could say, or the Muslim community, there's a higher rate of decayed, missing, and filled teeth. So we are doing something which isn't ideal compared to the average, or compared to the population. We may be having,
doctor, when you say this, it makes me very sad, because at the time of Rasulullah, when he was using siwak, and he was inviting his companions to brush their teeth and keep their oral hygiene impeccable, completely tip top. Not only clean your teeth, but with a siwak, you also get to floss in between. And he used to, brush it 5 times a day. We're talking about a civilization 1500 years ago, when rest of the world did not know what brushing teeth was.
Of course.
And yet, we have forgotten that particular, most essential part of our oral hygiene, while the rest of the world has excelled in it.
Unfortunately, that's absolutely true.
It makes me very sad.
I mean, our civilization, alhamdulillah, has taught other civilizations how to bathe, the cleanliness. The siwak was revolutionary at the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was something that I mean, if you look at, how could somebody, peace be upon him, who is say from a Bedouin or from a rural background, from the deserts of Saudi Arabia, who is illiterate, could come up with something so revolutionary at that time? So that's the miracle, and that was something. That's something which I like to kind of bring up every now and then. That subhanallah, science is actually trailing behind Islam. Islam has so many. It's a whole package for. It's a lifestyle. Islam.
Alhamdulillah.
How to
Good reminder. Ladies and gentlemen, whatever you do, please do not kill everybody else with your halitosis. Don't kill people around you. Brush your teeth well at your at suhoor time. Brush your teeth well throughout the day. It doesn't break your fast. Let me make it very clear. It doesn't break your fast. Even if your gum bleeds, it doesn't break your fast. What breaks your fast is intentionally eating food or drinking water or any drinks. And you're not doing that. So brush your teeth properly, please. No excuses. Floss them. And use mouthwash just before you make your wudu for Fajr. Thoroughly gargle through. Make sure it's all clean. Make wudu. Your breath is as fresh as a daisy, as we say. So brothers and sisters, with those words, I'm going to say to Dr. Tariq that our 8 o'clock time has arrived and we have to finish our program. But we enjoy your intervention, and alhamdulillah, we finally managed to crack the technological trouble. And inshallah, when we have you again, we will make sure that you have your, or you will make sure you have your earphone, inshallah.
We'll try my best.
Jazakallah khair, doctor. Have a fantastic few days, and I'm sure I'll speak to you very soon.
Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That's doctor there, Dr. Tariq. May Allah bless him. We're going to finish our program, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please stay in touch, send us your questions, and join us every day from 7 o'clock until 8. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.